Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I have gotten my hands on Marquardt tactiles. Thank you again, Innocens. These are exquisitely rare, and having taken them apart, spoiler alert, kind of with good reason, they're not that great. Quick rundown on, the Switch itself. It's got two contacts, and this one specifically has an integrated jumper, but it has a slot for an extra jumper and or diode. It could have up to 2 diodes in it, which is pretty sick. That is very Mitsumi of them. We'll get to the teardown in a minute. The feel on these, because they are so poorly described, is worth mentioning. And also the sound. These ones seem to come with die-sub caps too, which is pretty sick. They sound powdery as hell. These ones aren't in great condition. I'm going to have to wax boil them or lube them or something. The feel is mostly linear on the downstroke with a strong tactile bump on the upstroke, which is very MX of them. You would not be faulted for thinking that they do not have as cool a tactile mechanism as they have. Actually, I'm honestly not sure how much of their tactile feel comes from their funky mechanism and how much of it comes from just sort of simulating MX sort of stuff. The way that they are assembled, let me try and put this thing back together off camera a little bit. All right, so we got a top housing and a bottom housing and a slider. I'm going to pull the top housing off. It is, by the way, not quite symmetrical, but it's pretty fucking close to symmetrical. I think this circly bit that's on a corner here, I think that matches up with where you would put the second diode, if there was one. The slider has 2 very thin little arm thingies which fit in the rails, and then it has this big nose on it, which is how it controls the contacts. And then down the throat of the beast is pretty much empty. It's got a little reinforcing rib, and pretty much no nub for the spring to sit on. The spring, by the way, is shockingly narrow in diameter and a 2-stage spring. It's kind of stiff, but it resists buckling, which is, because it's 2-stage despite being very, very narrow. It is narrower than Alps or Kale box springs, but focus, you fuck, thank you. But actually, now that I'm making this video, I don't know if I have compared it to Space Invader springs. The guts of the beast, well, we've got the integrated jumper in here. Just a little bit of wire bent into place and soldered down. That's how this thing gets away with not having a plate. Although, you can clearly see that this is a plate mount capable switch. And it also has fixing pins. Plastic. Would you fucking focus? Thank you. It does have plastic fixing pins, but with the jumper, it is very good at being PCB mount. And it also means the PCB can be one-sided. Let me flip the beast over. Would you... A moment. Why is it... Oh, because I've got the keycap in there. Sorry. There we go. Here you can see one-sided PCB. That took me entirely too long. You can it's sort of translucent, so if I hold it up, or if I cast a shadow over it, you can see the traces through it, but those are just on the other side. Nice PCB, one-sided, and they get away with that with integrated jumpers. The actual contacts of the beast, I have to reassemble it. Here we go. It is actually a 3-part contact assembly, and my phone refuses to focus on the correct part. The spring sits on this little central nubbin here, and is sort of shielded by this central plastic thing, which, by the way, fits inside of the throat of the slider. That seems to be how it does most of the stability, and I suspect that's where at least a fair bit of the scratch comes from. So this, I'm going to pull the spring out. I'm going to dump out that part. We're going to say this is like the movable slider part, and you can see it has 2 gold crosspoint parts on it. One on each side, one which interfaces with each of the 2 fixed contacts. I can't get those out of the housing, but just trust me when I say they both have crosspoints on them. Now, you can see, I'm actually going to go grab my tweezers. All right. You can see right here in the middle, there is this little plastic bump, and that interfaces with, I'm going to flip this over, and to twist this around, this little hole here in the movable contact part, focus, thank you, that sits on the little plastic nubbin. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. I'm like looking at all of this through the phone screen. Please excuse me. It sits on that, and that allows the movable contact portion to rock back and forth. In a minute. We're going to in fit. There we go. All right. It allows it to rock back and forth. And it is always sort of pressed down by the spring sitting on the little forward nubbin here, which pushes it forward and closes the contact. But it is held back up like this by the nose on the slider. And that sort of bottom falling out gives a little bit of tactility as the spring is sort of extended and contracted by it. And the nose being pressed up against the center bump thingamajiggy on the slider, or on the movable contact, is also a source of much of the tactility. The bottom falling out sort of extends the spring and makes it feel like it's an even longer spring than it is. But on the stroke back up, it works to add tactility. It like gives it a little boost, and it helps to overcome the extra friction from the movable contact portion. It is, I want to call it a peculiar feel, and it is a little bit odd when you really think about it, but like when you're just typing on it, it's just kind of, this is a shitty tactile. It feels like a shitty tactile. This is not a particularly well executed switch, but it is a very interesting design. And so now I'm going to hold it all together and give it a couple presses for you. So focus. Also, don't be at an odd rotation. Thank you. Okay, now focus. And you can see around my finger, let me move the finger back so you can see a little better, how it pushes the contact back and how the contacts close a little bit. I think I need to, I have to like lean it forward with my finger to actually work. This is very difficult with one hand. And I hope that you guys don't mind this shitty, rambly video too terribly much. I am doing, well, maybe I could do better, but I'm doing the best I am willing to do. Here we go. Now you can see how the contacts are moved away. You can't really get a good sense of the bottom of the spring falling out from this view, and it's honestly hard to tell even in person without, looking through a phone camera held in one hand and the whole switch assembly. But I hope that you can see just like through that little gap there how this all works. It's not a lot of spring drop, and so you don't get a ton of feel from it, but it is there. This is a peculiar switch, and I hope that these 10 fucking minutes have been helpful.